to our final video here for our hashtag Stitchhouse Sew Along.
No.
No.
Tell us what it is, Emily.
Well,
No.
we have more videos coming.
Fashion yet?
And yeah, we have more stuff, but our hashtag
That
is
is true.
Sew Along with Stitchhouse.
Thanks, Emily.
And hash
She
browns.
keeps us honest.
No, not hash browns.
Hash browns.
Perfect points.
Oh, we're never gonna get
points.
started.
This is what it's like at a day in the Stitch House. Brittany is behind the camera just looking at us like we're nuts. And this is us. We can't get away from it.
Well, in our defense, it is after 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Margarita time.
Yes.
Ooh.
Mambo taxi time. Oh yeah. If you're not from Texas, you don't know what a mambo taxi is, we will introduce you in one of the videos.
When I
Will
came
we?
down to
Okay.
visit, they introduced me.
A little too many mambo taxis.
Let's just say she didn't leave the couch for 2 days and lost her phone. It's an introduction.
Grandma, that's true.
Oh, Grandma.
So,
today, which block are we sewing, Brian?
the Fort Worth block.
Okay.
And Terry, do you have any fun facts about Fort Worth?
I certainly, I can find it on my app.
Okay, I'll give you a fun fact then, because
Okay. Wait, I know. See, I love animals. They were the first one in Texas to have a Fort Worth Zoo.
they were the first. They were the first ones in Texas to have a Fort Worth Zoo. Is there a second Fort Worth Zoo now?
Well, inside my mind there is.
Brian, what's your...
They were the first zoo in Texas. Probably.
Okay, well, all I remember is one time I was down
His
south.
brain, he couldn't get horny toads out of his brain when he found out that they were part of
Oh
the...
yeah, they were stuck in there. No, down south there's a little zoo that you can drive through, and I was looking out the window this way, and this ostrich was reaching its head down in through the window trying to get
You
the...
can't make stuff like that up.
You just can't, no, I can't make it up. I'm completely honest.
Well, okay, so we got another fun fact. That's great.
Yeah,
Back.
if it can happen, it'll happen to me.
So, today's block is our most difficult block, but it's really actually not. It's the block that takes the most planning, and I think Brittany's gonna throw it to me, right, Brittany? Come on, get on film, Brittany. We love Brittany. She dresses so cute too. Okay, so this is our Fort Worth block, and we're going to...
Bryan did an absolute perfect job at looking at all those
Phenomenal. And
Wow.
How many pieces are in this block?
too many. We cut them all out on the ACCUQUILT for you. And we're going to you're going to need to gather up some colored pencils or markers before we get going, right?
Yep.
Anything else special that we used?
I don't think so.
All right.
Markers, and that was it.
Stay tuned for the end of the video because we're going to play a fun game together.
Ooh, what is that?
I don't know.
Surprise.
Brittany's got it lined up and we're going to have fun. All right, so as we've been sewing these blocks along, you've probably gotten these little diagrams in your package and thought, what the heck do I do with that?
I did when I saw this one.
They're all A's, aren't they? So we wanted to keep a level of mystery to this. It's almost like a mystery block sew along, or it is a mystery block sew along.
Exactly.
And so this is the part where we're going to teach you about coloring. And I think having a pair or a set of either colored markers or pens or colored pencils is a really great idea to have in your sewing arsenal. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to color these blocks in with the color of fabric that they coordinate with. Before I do that, let me explain how we're going to sew them together, and then I'll tell you why the coloring is important. So you have in your packet a stack of white half square triangles, and you also have a stack of these multicolored half square triangles. The only sewing you have to do this whole time is to take one half square triangle here and piece it to half square triangle. So all we're going to do is take one white, one pink, one white, one pink, one white, one yellow, and so on and so forth. And then when we're done, we're gonna press them all open and have all of these squares to put together. But if we don't make a game plan first, and this is something Emily taught me, if we don't make a game plan first, this can get confusing. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take my Fort Worth block and I'm gonna color it into what these are going to look like. What, Brian, I see your hand poking in here like you want to say something.
Well, I don't want to say much. I just want to help you so that we don't, this is the third time we've shot this and we keep coloring the wrong blocks. So I'm going to help color the right blocks.
Okay, he's lying. Okay. So first one we're going to do is green, and this is thank you to Lisa, who just has all these really cool colored pens in her arsenal at the store. Okay, so if it's going to be a white half square triangle, I'm going to leave it white. If it's going to be green, I'm going to come in here and give it a nice green color. So these are my greens. Terry just brought Brian an energy drink. That's the last thing he needs, Terry, and you know that.
It's 4:30. It's past my nap time.
Only the best for my second favorite class.
We didn't have a navy blue, but I'm gonna use black for navy blue here so you guys can kind of get the idea. Okay, so this is what our layout is going to look like. And if you have some colored pens or some crayons or markers in your stash somewhere or around your house, it's a really good idea to go ahead and color in your diagram so that you can follow along with what this needs to look like when it's over. So all you need to do now, and what we're going to do, is we're going to take one white triangle and take the wrong side of the other triangle in any color, and we're going to chain piece these all together. And again, the great thing about the ACCUQUILT is that we have these perfect points that we can take from this end to this end and just feed these through. So I'm gonna get these all going for Brian so that he can go ahead and start chain piecing them, and then I'm going to press them open and we'll come back and I'll show you how we start laying them out. Brian, I feel like you're doing a fabulous job. This is teamwork here. Hashtag team teamwork. Okay, so prior to us having any type of social media or even a store in general, Brian and I have been doing projects together since we've met, since day one.
Day one.
Brian loves to do projects, and I love him doing projects for me. I love him completing those projects.
The reason I'm drinking a Bang today, because I always like to have a good reason, and I do today, it's because I was up till 2 in the morning working on countertops.
That is very true. Brittany is reminding me of a funny comment from Linda Phillips that said, if we can get through this, our marriage will last. Anyway, when Brian and I first started doing projects together, I used to always say, hashtag team teamwork. And I don't know why I would say that.
What was our first project? Do you remember? Because I do. I remember.
I remember our first project. It was in the 3237 Independence.
No, that's not true.
That was our first location store. What was our first project together?
Our first project together was...
He's almost done.
Our first project together was Jessica.
Oh, I remember. No, wait, I remember our first.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I remember our first project. Okay, so at the time when I met Brian, I lived in Oaklawn. And is this the one you're talking about?
There's been so many.
Oh, this is really funny. I lived in Oaklawn. This is hilarious. You may want to get my face for this. I lived in Oaklawn, and I was getting ready to move out of, I lived in a studio at the time, and I was getting ready to move out of the studio, and I needed to get, you're done. Now we're gonna cut it, and then you're gonna cut every single one of those on here. Okay, so I lived in a studio at the time, and be careful because you don't want to knock it over. And I needed Brian to come over and get my TV down. I couldn't do it by myself.
She got it up by herself, supposedly.
Well, this is really funny. So I'm just a fan of making things work no matter what. And so I bought this TV and I was so proud of myself. I bought the mount, but I didn't have a level or a stud finder.
Or a screwdriver.
Or a screwdriver, or a drill. I had a screwdriver.
Oh, a screwdriver, no
I
drill.
didn't have a drill. And somehow I got this 55-inch TV hanging on my wall in my studio apartment in Oaklawn. And so I asked...
That is generous. Hanging is generous.
I asked Bryan...
It was on the wall.
It was on the wall. I asked Bryan to come over. I said, hey, can you help me get my TV down? I'm moving and it's like the last big thing I need. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And he gets there and he grabs my TV and I think the thing just like came off the wall. He's like, you are lucky that this thing was still hanging on the wall.
Was that project number 1?
That
It
was
wasn't.
project number
Actually,
1.
that was project 2.
Oh.
Project number 1 was a deep clean of the townhouse. In which I was forced to take my air mattress out of the living room, and it's never made it back.
That is true. Project number 1 was Bryan. When I first met Bryan, you know, you go over like see the other person's place. Not on the first date. This was like the 3rd date, and he's like, and we were just meeting there prior to going to coffee. And I walked in his townhouse, and he had like a multi-level townhouse. And I walked in, and I go, I can tell you're single. And he goes, what? How? And he was like so offended. I go, well, this place is dirty. So we need to.
I had 3 Roombas. I had a Roomba on every
And
single
none of them
floor.
were working.
That's actually true. They were all broken in the closet.
So
We're not getting sponsored by Roomba anytime soon. I'll tell you that much.
the vacuum industry hates us. Okay, so let me show you what Bryan did. And we'll go from there. I forgot. So what we're doing is,
Are we using flatter at all?
I don't need it right now, but I'll use it later when we start putting these together. Perfect. And don't forget, when you're quilting, you're pressing. Okay, I have one more story to tell while we do these. So our first big project we did together, when I first started dating Bryan, I told him I own a sewing store, and he thought I was joking. He said, you're already on the date, Jessica. You don't have to lie. And I go, no, that's really what I do.
And then my next
I
comment,
messed this one up. I didn't press it to the right side. It'll live.
And then my next comment was, people still sew?
He did say that. And I said, yes, people sew a lot. And so when I first started the store, it was on 3237 Independence Parkway in Plano. And I will never forget that address because when you walked in, there was no air conditioning. It was very dirty, very cluttered. It was a lot to deal with.
Oh, you are making it sound way nicer than it was.
It was horrible. And so when I met Bryan and I saw his tool arsenal that he had in his garage, I thought, oh my gosh, this guy has so many tools. And I said to him, do you know how to use all those tools? And he's like, yeah. And so I'm like, haha, perfect. So that's how we started dating, basically. Bryan had tons of tools, and I knew that store was gonna need a facelift. So I eventually, about a month in, after I had cleared the place out for probably a solid month, my mom, my brother, my mom's husband, everybody came and helped me clear it out. By the time it got pretty much pared down to just the things that I wanted there, I told Bryan, I said, all right, Bryan, we need to renovate this thing. So we spent our entire Christmas and New Year's that year, our first year dating, renovating that store, right?
Yeah, and I think I once heard someone gave me advice and they said, make sure that the first 3 months of your relationship, you do something that you really enjoy because it's going to set the tone for the rest of your relationship.
So all we do is projects together.
So we should have traveled more.
Yeah, literally, the basis of our relationship is us, like, building things.
It's kind of a 2-prong approach relationship. It's us building things
That I want built.
that she wants built, and the second prong of that relationship is her buying things that I try to talk her out of. So I think that's really just the both of it. So one of the things that I remember most about the renovation was that it was the first, and I'm embarrassed to say, the only time I've ever used the winch on the front of my Jeep.
Oh yeah, this is true. So the carpet in the store was so bad. When I'm telling you bad, like, we considered at first just getting it cleaned because we didn't have any money to to like replace carpet or do flooring, and we didn't really have that much time either. We really wanted to get open. So the carpet was so bad that Bryan and Peter, he was our technician at the time, they could not lift the carpet out. We would like get one piece at a time and they'd start pulling and pulling, and I was just looking at that like, if I want these guys to keep working for the next few days, we need to seriously figure out something else.
It took us, no exaggeration, 10 minutes to pull a piece the size of this wool mat.
Yeah, it did.
And I think I almost blew my back out twice in that.
And I was like, all right, well, if this is gonna happen, then we need to do something else. So Bryan cut holes into the carpet, and he pulled his Jeep up to the front of the store, and he put holes in the carpet, and we hooked the winch up, and we winched the carpet out.
And that winch can pull 2 ton, and I think it almost burnt the engine out of that.
All right, let's move on to the next part. Is we're going to take, we have all these great squares now, which are so much easier to work with than triangles, and we're going to come through and we're going to make sure that we set these squares up for success. And don't forget that we colored, the black ones are actually navy blue on here, so don't get confused with that.
I don't think you can tell.
It may not confuse you too much. So we're just gonna go ahead and lay these out. And I like to leave a little space in between when I'm laying out, because that's gonna help me kind of game plan where I start sewing. I think I'm gonna sew these together.
Do you want me to work
in
from the
blocks.
bottom?
Sure, go for it, here. So I've got this one. I'm missing a pink one in here. Am I missing?
I got a pink right here.
Oh, perfect. See, this is kind of fun. You guys, you know what? I'm gonna challenge you. If you have a significant other at home, you should do this with them.
Right now, there's at least dozens of significant others that are cursing you right now.
You should go ahead and try this with them. See if
On second thought, let's keep our hobbies our own.
Yeah. Leave us a comment and let us know which one you think it should be.
So I'm gonna help.
Thank you. And then
so probably someone should help me too.
Yep.
That looks close.
Look, Bryan.
And I think, so it's good to have, I love having this because we still are making corrections.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, so let's look
now,
over
does
it.
that look right?
Let's see.
I think that does.
I think that looks good. Okay, so it's important to relay out your blocks. So we started with all the triangles. We've relayed out, we opened our triangles up, and now we have squares. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work incrementally to create one square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this piece, Bryan, and I'm going to make sure that you sew this seam.
She's going to hand it to me in the orientation that it needs to be sewn.
Correct.
Because she doesn't want to use the seam ripper again.
Correct. So you're going to sew this seam.
Which
and then,
seam?
Nope, you're going to come from here to here.
Thank you.
And then he's going to hand it back to me. I'm going to press it open and I'll show you how we work through this. So here's how I'm kind of working through this. I'm going to make each one of the blocks a unit. So I'm kind of separating them out like this so I can work individually. The first thing Bryan did was he sewed this square to this square, and then the bottom square to the bottom square. Now we're gonna fold over and we're gonna match up the seam really well. So I'm gonna make sure that he's got #perfectpoints, and I'm gonna use this little clip to make sure that both of those seams connect.
I have a hard time working without my clips.
All right, and then he's going to sew along here, and then we'll have one. Got a really great point here. I'm so impressed.
Teamwork.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. And we didn't rip any of those out.
We didn't rip any of those out. So now, so this is one unit. So we're gonna do the same thing. I think the most important thing is to keep your color diagram handy and to just work one block at a time, because if you sew the wrong seam, you're going to get the wrong result. So take your blocks.
Can we put that somehow in a pop-up caption? If you sew the wrong thing, you'll get the wrong result.
I mean, not to state the obvious or anything.
Advice. #advice. Call us if you need more.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take This is my next unit I'm working in. I'm gonna take it and we're gonna sew right down the side here. So we're gonna do one more unit for you guys and show you how this works. So Bryan has sewn these 2 squares together and these 2 squares together, and so far our diagram still lines up here. So I'm gonna flip this square over, do the same thing I did before. I'm gonna match up those seams for them so that we get those nice points together. Use my little mini wonder clip. These are a must.
My love language is affirmation, so she has to keep reminding me I'm doing a good job.
That is his love language. It's constant. You look great today, babe. All right, here you go.
I wish it was constant.
And he's gonna sew this last seam together for us. You know, I saw an interesting question on the internet the other day. We don't use pins, but we use the wonder clip. So it's obvious that you remove the wonder clip when you're sewing. But I saw someone post a question about people that sew over their pins. I have an opinion on that. I have an opinion on pins. Can I give it to you?
Along with a lot of other things.
Can I give you my
Sure.
opinion on pins? Okay, first of all, I hate pinning. Let me see. Look at you! I'm gonna press this open. I have an opinion on pinning. One, I don't like them. I think that there's like, we have evolved from pins. We have clips now and they're so much easier. But if you are a pinner and you like to pin, your seams together, then I think you should remove your pins as you're sewing. If you don't remove your pins as you're sewing, you run the risk of your needle hitting your pin and you causing damage to your machine. And to me, I see it in the service side of it more often than you would expect.
Well, okay, go ahead.
So my opinion is to remove your pins before you get to that part, and do not sew over your pins. Terry is
However,
shaking his head in the
I have an
background.
opinion on pins too. Because I see the numbers for the service
Come on,
department.
Terry.
So I say if you'd like to sew over pins and bring your machine in to get fixed, we're happy to fix it.
Terry, tell us your opinion on pins since you're over here now.
One of the things about pins is that's why I don't allow people to use more than 3, because I can control it when they're in the class. If you are one of those people who lengthen your stitch, you still take 1 pin and it's all she wrote. You can throw your timing off and end up having to pay $176 just for us to retime.
Which is why Bryan said, sure, come on, Emily. Come on over. Give us your opinion on pins.
Check it out.
Hashtag pin opinionated.
Ooh.
Opinionated. Oh, that's good. Not judging on the blocks. What's your opinion on pins?
I don't really use them that often unless I really want to be specific with a point.
You are a wonder clipper, right?
I'm a wonder clipper when I do my rows, honestly.
But what started all this is that I saw a comment that said, why does that person leave their pins in and they sew over their pins? And I said, don't do that. Bryan said, go ahead and do that, because then that means you have to come to our service department.
That's not the only reason. My first sewing project were the big curtains that I made, and I sewed over every pin on there. Of course, I also bought my machine at Joann's for $150 and set up plywood for a sewing table.
You had no idea what was in store for you, Bryan.
I bet you left pins in there in those curtains. I bet there's still pins in those curtains.
Until the maid ripped them down off the wall.
Yeah. Okay, so those are our opinions.
That's so good. Hashtag opinions.
Okay, so check out these 2 units that Bryan has completed. So we're going to do the same thing across these other units. We're going to sew triangle to triangle, or woo! We need margaritas.
Edit.
It's Friday. We're going to sew square to square. I know my shapes. Square to square.
She did
Square to
exceptional in
square,
third grade.
and then rectangle to rectangle. And then we're going to get these 4 units. When that's completed, we're going to sew these together, and we're going to sew 1 long seam down the middle to have our completed block.
Let me ask you, what if I went like this and like this? And
Same
then
thing. Same thing. You could sew here to here and here to here, and then have 1 long seam down the center. Doesn't matter. A square is a square.
As long as your final product is a square, it'll work out perfect.
Perfect. And then follow your diagram, and you'll do well.
Okay.
We've been going back and forth about how we're gonna play this game for the past 10 minutes. And what we're gonna do is we decided we're gonna close our eyes. Brittany's gonna ask us a series of questions, and Brian and I and Terry and Emily are gonna point to who they think
Is most likely.
is most likely to be the response to that question.
Between Bryan and Jessica.
So we'll close our eyes so that they still have their jobs. No, just kidding. We'll close our eyes. We won't, no judgment or anything, and we're gonna see what the answers are, right?
Okay,
It'll be
let's do
fun.
it.
All right, let's do it. All right, Brittany, hit us with the first question.
Who is most likely to be drunk at work? Who is most likely to be successful as an on-air personality? Who would most likely live the longest?
Oh, that's tough. Well, probably her.
Well,
Hey.
you can't say it out loud.
Well, okay.
Who is most likely not to take a shower for a week?
I have my eyes completely closed.
Who is most likely to take care of the other when they are sick?
Men are awful when they're sick.
Awful. But Brian makes me homemade soup. He loves that Instapot. That is Brian's Instapot. It is not mine.
Next
It's Brian's
question.
and the dog's. He hates to admit it, but he loves that thing. In fact, we were at Target
Okay,
the other
next
day.
question. Next
He's like,
question.
is there a new version of Insta?
That was
Who
it.
is most likely to be very sensitive?
100%.
Who is
Hard
the most
questions.
likely to be the first one to die in a zombie apocalypse?
I would just be like, just take me now.
Who is most likely to go to a Justin Bieber concert?
Been there, done that. Actually, Brian would go with me. He doesn't care.
Not with a smile.
Who is most likely to be late for their wedding?
I'm late for my own meetings.
Who is most likely to be unable to keep a secret for 30 minutes?
Oh, that's definitely me. We don't even have to keep my eyes closed. I'll close them again. Okay, Terry.
Who's most likely to get angry and walk out of a live taping?
Never happened. None of us have walked out, FYI. No one has walked out, but I have a feeling the fingers are on me.
You raised your own hand.
We make this filming look easy.
So, while Brittany is planning the next question, I will tell you I will survive a zombie apocalypse because all you gotta be is faster than the slowest person in your group. So knock somebody in the kneecap and start running.
I won't survive because I won't be able to see as soon as my glasses.
All right, one last question.
Last one.
Make it a good one, Brittany. I got my eyes closed.
Who is most likely to talk to the animals?
Oh.
That's your final
What
question?
kind of animals?
They're dogs.
Okay, well.
It's me, and I'll explain. First of all, I think Daytona, she's our youngest dog. She's about a year old, and she loves doing makeup time, so I always say, we have makeup time with Tona. Well, last night that came to bite me in the butt because I was washing my makeup brushes, and she had them strewed all around the house. And then I think my dogs used to be humans, so they have their own personalities. And I think your cats have their own personalities.
Oh, I mean, everyone talks to animals, but
Don't they?
yeah.
Yeah. If you don't- if you
But
don't
not everyone pretends like they get a response.
Oh, we're having a full-on conversation with my animals. So.
She's reading their mind.
That was a pretty fun game.
I loved it. We had fun.
Don't watch that, okay?
Oh,
So,
I'm watching it.
no more blocks. Really? Is this over?
But we have the sashing, we have the finishing, so stay tuned. What are our hashtags, Emily?
We have hashtag #SewAlongWithStitchHouse,
Hashtag perfect points.
hashtag
Opinionated.
Opinionated
I,
today.
I think we need that on a shirt.
Okay.
And hashtag teamteamwork. That took way too long.
Wow, that's teamwork.